Hey, everybody. Welcome to another very exciting episode of Movie Recap. And I'm Josh, as always. I've been Josh since 46 years now. So today we have potentially a new co host, see how things go. We got Charli St. Joan. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. So today on Movie Recap, we're going to cover some ghost stories, movies about ghosts and stuff like that. I'm gonna let you start, Charli. What is your favorite ghost franchise or favorite ghost movie?
Oh my gosh. So I like to say in a way this ghost film in a way made me, which was The Sixth Sense. Um it's just it's a classic. It's M. Night Shyamalan's first film. I think that was his first film. To me it's like a comfort nostalgic film for me when I watch it every year in the fall. And just I mean, it's not for the fact that it's, scary, because there are a lot of scary things, of course, that happens in Sixth Sense, but it was there's the emotion that comes to it, especially towards the end when we all, don't want to be a spoiler alert, uh when we all know what happens to Malcolm and why he is what he is and why he was distant from his wife, for the fact that he was a ghost, and that's why Cole could see him and can communicate with him. But I also loved the actress that is in there, Toni Collette, which we also know her from one of my other favorites, which was Hereditary. um she just she just has this gift where, and you know what, I've tried as an actress, I've tried this. She does this thing with her face where she just knows how to contort it. And you see that in Hereditary when she is, at the dining room table, confessing to her son of how she feels about him. But in The Sixth Sense, she's not contorting. She's more like, it's more like the emotion is just so raw from her that it feels real. And so when Cole is telling her about her mom and, saying that, he, was told by her, like, grandma told me that you asked her a question and her answer was every day. What was it that you asked her? And she goes, "Do I make her proud?" There was just something about that where it's just like, wow, like it was just, it's amazing. And to know that that was her, and then that's her in Hereditary, I'm like, wow, like this woman just has a gift. Um, but um, in a way, The Sixth Sense in a way kind of made me, just because, not to, sound crazy, because I mean a lot of my friends, say that I am, but that's just me being me. But My so very interesting enough, and I avoided this for the longest time because I thought it was nuts. So the women in my family, in history, they had a gift of clairvoyancy, as well as be, being mediums. They also come from a history of what people would call light witches, which, I mean, they were like religious, highly spiritual, kind of like how I am, but they were very into bringing light and positivity, keeping the negatives away, keeping like demonic forces away. And for the longest time, like, I did not believe that. I thought, no, like, especially my one great aunt, she's, very big with the gift, but I thought that she was just a crazy old lady off her rocker. But then she kind of pointed things out to me, which scared me in a way. And then things kind of happened, where it was kind of a recollection of memories. So if you remember how Cole Sear was with in The Sixth Sense, how he would take like the statues away from the church, and put it all over his room, his tent. So apparently, when I was a kid, and I barely remember this, but my mom did. She's just like, I had a box of your great great grandmother's Catholic statues, and for some reason, you took that box and you put those statues all around your room and crosses around your room, and you kept saying it's because I need to feel safe. And you kept going to the priest asking to bless them, and you wouldn't tell me why. And suddenly you were telling my mom was telling me how like I would complain about shadows coming to my bedroom door at night, and for some reason those old Catholic statues that my great great grandma had that I had, I put them all over my room, and I guess I didn't see them trying to enter my room. One of the things when it comes to like ghost stories and ghost movies is there is, in a way, it is very real. People talk about how with ghosts or with like the other world, the spiritual stuff, children are very prone to seeing things, whether if it's ghosts, angels, spirits, even demons or shadows, even what they call shadowies. And it's because they're mine, and I only understand this because I worked with children for about 18 years before I became an accountant. um they are highly vulnerable, and so it's like when a kid tells you that they saw the boogeyman in their closet or something under their bed, to me, I know that they're not lying, because I mean, as a kid, I remember certain things that I don't want to remember. But like I said, I am not a crazy person. I wanted to avoid this completely. I'm that person where I'm like, no, I just want normalcy in my life. But then when I put pieces together, it just makes sense. Um, and oh, I guess another good movie franchise to bring this up that I do love is the Conjuring series.
Yes.
Um, yes, it's amazing. It's amazing, but I have to watch the movies only once a year during Halloween time, because it's good, but it's scary good where it hits me to the core where I'm like, okay, now I'm frightened because this kind of stuff, like I remember Sunday school. I remember certain things that even my great aunt talked about of like negative entities and whatnot and how to stay away from them. And what did she do? I think she always had like, holy water with her just in case, throwing salt in certain areas to keep her house, clean, having sage burned or whatever. Like I said, thought she was crazy, but things have happened since then, and I'm like, okay, no, she probably was not crazy. She acts crazy sometimes, but uh, the Conjuring series, I do, it does bring a lot to my heart in a way, because I realized I came into what people would call a spiritual awakening actually about 10 years ago. Um and that's where, like I said, that's when I realized, like I said, great aunt wasn't crazy, because I started experiencing things that she did, and I didn't want to believe it. But then and it was small, it was like small little things, like I could tell, um like if someone had a past loved one that passed away, I could, it's what they call discernment, which is trying to put a message together based on how the person is feeling, how their loved one is feeling. And in the end, it is kind of ultimate guessing, but you can just tell with just being a decent human being and, empathic and feeling that person's feelings of what is going on. So the Conjuring series, and I'll give a big shout out to my friend Chris McKennell. He is the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Um, he um, he is legit the Malcolm Crowe to my Cold Sear, because when I started going through my experiences, I was like, okay, I need to be put away in a straitjacket. Something is wrong. Like, I don't know. Um, but when I explained things to him, and when I explained things that happened in my childhood, including including a time including a time when I was I think this happened either when I was in kindergarten or first grade. I apparently, and my mom revealed this to me, like I said, 10 years ago. She I guess it was late and she just decided to reveal it to me. And she told me, she was like, there was that one time when I had that meeting with your teachers because they had to have a discussion about you and your imaginary friends and how you were kind of scaring the other kids. And I was like, wait, what? How do I not remember this? She's like, you were like 6 or 7 years old. She's like, it was nothing big, but the teachers just had to have a discussion with me. Like, can you try to make sure your daughter is actually cooperating and talking to the regular kids and not something that's not there or whatever. And I was like, well, maybe I was just a kid using their imagination. And she's like, that's what they all thought, but you somehow knew their past address from a street away at this elementary school, that I guess the house was doomed to get bulldozed because there was a carbon monoxide thing that happened that killed a family, and that included, I guess, three kids, which were three kids that I was talking to, making friends with. And I'm like, and my mom's like, and you know how your great aunt is gifted and how the women in our family is gifted, and I figured it was that, but I just kept saying, imaginary friends, that's all. And I'm like, Mom, why didn't you reveal this to me later on in life? She's like, I was just trying to make sure you forgot about it, honey. Like, it's no big deal. And I'm like, yeah, but I always felt kind of different from the rest of my classmates anyway. I I I I kind of like predicted certain things like I don't know how to explain this. I knew when certain girls within my grade was going to be mothers very early on in life, based on what I pieced together on what had happened in their lives, who had been there in their lives, who had not been there in their lives. And it's kind of scary when when things are true. Um
Yeah.
I but I totally don't mean to come off as an actress who sounds like, a total loon. I just figured, hey, we're talking ghost stories and we're talking ghostly movies.
Oh yeah.
But what is your ultimate favorite ghost movie?
So that's a loaded question because there's so many good ones.
Yes.
I will say that my favorite ghost movie is a movie called Witchery, which came out
Okay.
a long time ago. It starred Linda Blair and David Hasselhoff, if you can believe that.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa. Now I'm gonna have to like look this up. David
Oh,
Hasselhoff?
oh yeah. You know, it's about this group of people go to this island, and it's like a lighthouse, but also like an apartment building or something there, and it's a really good movie. First time I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to own this, and then I spent like a year trying to find it. Then I finally found it on DVD, and I was like, cool. But then they brought the Blu-ray out, and I was like, I'm buying that too. So it was really
Yeah.
good, though. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm gonna have to like look that up and check that out. Um,
Oh yeah. But to kind of piggyback off what you said, right-handed God, I can't make this up. When I was younger, I was 7 years old. We lived in
mhm.
Delray, Michigan, and this house was 100% haunted. 100% haunted. Like we could
Oh
leave
wow.
stuff somewhere, all of us would leave the house, and we had a deadbolt on our door. So you were either getting in with the key or you weren't getting in at all. And yeah, it was we would leave things somewhere. They would be moved when we got back, and then right around the age of 8, that's when I started, and I thought it was just me, but then the rest of the family started saying it too, like blood stains on the ceiling.
Whoa.
So I was like, all right. And then what really broke the camel's back of us getting out of that house was around maybe halfway, like almost when I was 9. It's like a 2-year period. I started seeing a face on the wall that kept telling me, get out of the house, and
Mm.
my right hand to God. And I'd tell my mom, like, hey, there's a face on the wall. And she's like, all right, to go back to sleep. I'm like, every time I would go in there, get out of the house, get out of the house, you know. And then I was like, yeah. So at almost 9 years old, I was like, I don't want to sleep in a bed with my mom and her boyfriend. So I was like, I'm gonna
Right.
sleep on the couch. So I started sleeping on the couch, and then all of a sudden it would come on the wall there, you
Oh
know.
my God.
And I was like, all right, it's I'm not staying in this house. But then other people started noticing things, and so we moved. Then we moved to a house on a street called Graham Street. I don't know if it was something that followed us, but this house was 100% haunted too. And I was like, back to back haunted houses. Yeah, no wonder I'm fucked up, but still, But I mean, it. There's a lot of people who they don't believe in that, and I'm like,
Mhm.
it's kind of difficult not to believe in it when you've witnessed it. So,
Yep.
you know, but yeah, it's actually, I mean, like Woodmere Cemetery is haunted. Like where around where I'm at, within a 15 to 20 mile radius right now of Roseville, there's so many haunted places. So
Mhm.
it's I've been to a couple, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of creepy, but I'm 46 years old, so I don't want to get scared or anything like that. So I always make sure I have a group of friends with me so they can get scared, and I'm like, nah. I still get scared every now and then, but
Right.
movies, like real life stuffs, that can scare me. Movies, once I start watching a movie, the only movie that ever scared me was the original Exorcist, and I was 7. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Um, going off of that, the biggest movie that scared me, which I mean, yeah, Conjuring series was one thing. I mean, but there's still it's good series. I refuse to watch Paranormal Activity because I saw a little snippet of that last scene, and that freaked me out. And I'm like, okay, I probably should not even watch this film because I mean, I even had friends saying, like, yeah, after I saw that, I ended up leaving my light on all night in my bedroom. And I'm like, yeah, I can see why. I saw a little snippet of that last scene and I can't, nope, nope, um, it hit too close to home with what I grew up in, and I grew up in a Catholic parish in Texas, and even in Sunday school when they were trying to make Halloween fun, and they would talk about demonic things and what to do and what not to do, because my church was cool like that. But yeah, the number one movie that scared me to I am not kidding you. I think I was 12 years old when I saw this, and I ended up sleeping in my mom's room for like 6 months. It was The Grudge, the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar, or Sarah Michelle, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, there was just it was, and you know what? It's close enough to The Ring because it's based on the same Japanese legend. It's called the Orneo, which
Mhm.
these spirits are based off of vengeance, and they look like that. Like they look pale with the stringy hair like this, and they do come like you like that because it is a way for them to snatch your soul. And that's why even in the Grudge film, when what's his face who talks to Sarah Michelle Gellar, and he's just like, when a death happens based on, something so violent and so bad, like a malevolent spirit will come and they will, once you enter the house, it follows you, and that goes on for like any ghost or spiritual like entities. Like if you enter a presence of some sort, it will follow you home. It's same thing like in The Sixth Sense when what's her face, the Malcolm's wife, when she's just like showing the lady the ring, like, oh, look at this ring, yes, it's exquisite, it's wonderful, and I bet this woman who had it was, this and that. They say that, if you take something, it leaves something, imprinted forever, like fingerprints. And that's why another reason why people say, like, don't be taking things from a haunted house, don't be taking certain things, which is why the Warren family has their basement. It is based off of things that they have collected, but it is like what Ed Warren has said, which is keeping the genie in the bottle, so then it stays contained and it's not going into another world or another dimension or another house, because yeah, the one guy's just like, oh, why don't you just burn the whole thing down? Well, it's the same thing when, if God forbid, a bunch of teenagers are playing with an Ouija board and they release something out, and they think, oh, well, we'll just send it back by just burning the board. But it's like, you just closed the only portal for it to go back in, and now it's swirling around and going all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Why? I mean, you would think it's a good idea, but it's really not.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh
um, what other experiences have you had?
oh so I lived I lived in Southwest Detroit almost all my life. When me and my wife got together, we I told her we're gonna once we get married, I get you out of Detroit. So I did that. But before I met her, me and my family lived in a house on Trenton Street. And at the time, I remember this clear as day. It was 9:51 on a Friday night. It was just me, my one brother, and one of our friends in the house. And I was in the back of the house, which is in the back of the house, you have the kitchen, the restroom, the basement, and the attic.
Hmm.
So, and I was back there just watching TV. And then all of a sudden, I hear a big commotion and I yell for my brother. I'm like, hey, what's going on? They didn't answer. So I went walking through the house. And when I went out of the house, because they weren't in the house. I looked in every single room in the house, and I know they weren't in the back of the house because I was in the back of the house. So I went outside and they were on my neighbor's front porch. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? They were like, we saw something. And I was like, what do you mean you saw something? Now keep in mind, I've lived in haunted houses, you
Yeah.
know, and oh, I got to give a little bit of the pretexts to this too. We lived right next door to a funeral home,
Oh, geez.
which happened to be my first job that I worked at that funeral home.
Oh my gosh.
I was 15 and the embalmer, the mortician, whatever you want to call him, he was like, hey, you want to make $100? Help me carry this cadaver down into the. I was like, my mom told me not to talk to strangers. He was like, you want $300? I was like, I'll be right over there. I told my mom what was going on, and she was like, hey, go ahead, I'll watch you. So I went down, helped him take the cadaver down there, and then he was like, "Hey, you want a job for the summer? Every time a cadaver comes, help me carry it downstairs. You get paid." I was like, "Okay, sure." Uh, now back to what I was saying. Sorry, because there's something else that happens too. But so I asked my brother, like, "What did you see?" He goes, "I don't know. It was like a little person, but it didn't look human." And I was like, "Huh, okay." And I'm the youngest of four boys, so I was like, well, if he, who's older than me, is scared to go back in that house, maybe I shouldn't go back in. So I walked back in front of our house. I wasn't about to go in the house, but I heard it knocking on my screen door from the inside of the house. And we only had dogs and they were already in the backyard. So I looked and I saw my right hand. And if my brother was alive today, he would vouch 100%. As I looked at the front door, there was something that looked like a little person, had beady red eyes. And I was like, yeah, that's creepy as hell. So my mom came home from work. Me and my brother outside at like 1 in the morning. My mom was like, "What are you guys doing?" We ain't going in that house. We don't know what's in there. So my mom goes, "Well, there ain't nothing in there." My mom's the strongest woman I've ever known. And when she passed, trust me, still to this day it hurts. But
Mhm.
she went in there, checked everything. Checked every room. There was nothing in there. So I was like, all right. And then we went back in the house. A couple days later, mortician comes and he says, "Hey, I got a cadaver coming in. Do you want to help me bring it in?" I was like, "Yeah." And it was this blonde headed lady, and then Jane Doe because I don't know her name, but
Mhm.
so we carried her down into the room where he does what he does, and then 2 nights later after that, after the funeral home was closed, and my bedroom was like right. You could see the funeral home from my bedroom window.
Yeah.
The light came on, and I was like, "It's too late for him to be there. I mean, maybe he forgot something." So I look out my window, and that blonde-headed lady, I swear on everything I love, was looking at me,
Oh my God.
and I was like, "That's creepy as shit," you know. And so I was like, "Yeah, you know." But the next day, I told him I was like, "You sure that lady was, like no longer among the living?" He's like, "Why?" I was like, "Because I saw her staring at me from inside the funeral home into my house." He's like, "What?" So then he took me down to where he had her body, and sure enough, she was in there. And I'm like, "That's crazy." And to corroborate this story, I can actually go get my wife. This happened literally 7 years ago. Me and my wife been together for 19 years. We heard a knock on the door. I answered the door, and that was that blonde headed lady. And then she just disappeared.
Oh my gosh.
100% my wife will
Oh.
corroborate that story 100%.
Oh.
So, yeah,
Dude.
to believe is one thing, to have it happen is another thing. And I think the people who don't believe, the world out there, there's so much more than what most will actually know ever. So,
Right. Oh, geez. Yeah, and it's weird because you would think, like, especially for me, especially when I was a teenager, people would think, like, no, you got to play it cool, like, you didn't see anything and you're crazy or whatever. But then it's weird because then as you get older, like for me especially, like it almost feels like, I don't know, being a kid again when you see certain experiences. And maybe, for a while I did push that memory out of my head of my imaginary friends when I was 6 or 7 years old in the park, but knowing how what their address was and how it was a house that had carbon monoxide poisoning that killed a whole family, including three kids, my three imaginary friends. And just the one time when I was in college, I guess one of the other biggest haunting areas is theaters because and I do film acting, but I also do stage acting. So me and my friends, we decided to go to this old theater that had been closed for about 2 years because when I got there, I saw maybe one show there, and then afterwards it closed because people said or complained about a ghost named Alice who kept on moving the stage stuff, making the lights blink on and off, opening up the doors or the curtains not acting the way that they're supposed to be. I'm like, well, how are they supposed to be acting? They're curtains, but um they're like they would just move and they would move on their own, and I'm like, okay. So I had a group of my friends. We were all film people, and I'm like, okay, I got my theater people and I got my film people, let's get together and see if we can do some ghost investigation of our own. I cannot talk. Uh and, and we kind of took a risk in a way because we were not supposed to be in the theater. We were being rebellious because we're like we can't sneak in, but because I am under 5'1", I was the shortest and the smallest person that was able to go into the ticket booth window that was like because they're like, Charlie, we can't get the door open. And they all looked at me and I'm like, what are you looking at me for? They're like, you're small enough. You can sneak in. And I'm like, you want my butt to be going through that tiny little ticket booth like window? And they're just like, but you're fairy like size. You can get in and then you can open up the door on the other side. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my little mini light here and just go on in and then open up the door from the other side, which success I did. But even before I opened up the door, I felt chills. Like I don't know, I can't even explain it. It's just like, and this is where I guess the empathic gift comes in, where it's just like it was chills of not supposed to be in there. So, but I opened up the door anyway because I'm just like, hey guys, we're college kids. Let's go in and see if we can catch ourselves a ghost. Let's go and see Alice. And so
Uh, just so you know, we
I
got about
felt,
7 minutes left. So go
yeah.
ahead.
But yeah, I was gonna say, in the end, apparently my film friends were already there beforehand, and they already put these little weird engraving things on the stage and whatever to make it look spooky. And someone put a laptop making ghost noises, and I go up the ladder, and I'm just like, and I look down, and I'm looking at my friend Tim, and I'm just like, you did that on purpose. And so I go down the ladder, but then my friend Trisha grabs me on the shoulder, like fiercely, and she's just like, I'm like, Trish, what's wrong? And she's just like, Charlie, something cold went up my back and down my arm. And she's like, was that you? And I'm like, no, I've been right here. She's like, something touched me. The moment she said that, I felt something like wisp, and it felt like fingers was grabbing my hand that were icy cold. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm out. Nope, nope, we're done. The ghost hunting stuff is done. We're nope, going home.
Oh yeah.
uh, I did have another experience when I was I'll be quick with this. I went to Salem about 3-4 years ago for the witch festival, the Halloween festival. I went to the Ye Old Burying Point, which is the oldest cemetery, there. It's like the first cemetery that was ever made. And I guess like this was very weird because I saw the memorial of the graves of the people that were killed during the witch trials. So like John Proctor from the Crucible, he was a real person. Sarah Good, um, Giles Corey, and for some reason I felt like I was suffocating near that memorial. And I saw two other women who were mothers. Their faces were as white as a sheet, and while I was passing through that, like I felt like gagging, like sick, like gagging, and just something like very heavy, like upon me. And then just like looking at the other ladies, they look sick too. And when I looked at the graves and I realized, I was just like hanged, 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 pressed to death. And that's why I was feeling like the choking kind of deal or something heavy pressed upon me. But those other ladies were feeling it too. They're just like, I was asking them, I'm like, are you okay? They're just like, yeah, I just feel like I'm suffocating here and I don't feel good. And I'm like, I don't feel good either. And you don't look so good either. I think maybe we should get out of the memorial area, take our pictures and get out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome. Salem is awesome. It is definitely a big Halloween party if you get there. But one of the things I notice is the freaks that would normally come out at 11 p.m. here in Ohio, they come out at 8 p.m. there. So just
Oh
just
yeah.
craziness.
Oh yeah.
Um yeah. But yeah, I I do what I can to not go to certain places that I know that I would have a bad feeling for, but sometimes you can't help but be curious and just kind of see. But definitely if for me it's like when I feel sick, like it's either a headache or a stomach ache that I feel, then that's when I feel like, okay, time to turn around. We've had our fun. Or, okay, I saw something, but you know what? I'm gonna say that I didn't and go home.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's. I mean, there's a lot to be explained out there that a lot of people just normally don't want to hear. But it's it's those stories that we don't hear that are the ones that are really frightening. So
And I say that they're inspirations to make, something like horror films or for or TV series. The one thing I will say, so Chris, my friend Chris, who is the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, he told me how in the film there was a lot of things that were not accurate throughout the time of the filming. He's just like, listen, my grandmother, she was gifted and she was right about everything that was there, in the first Conjuring film, that there was a woman that was a witch, Sheba, who did what she did. But he's just like, it's Hollywood and they want to make sure that it's actually scary. Like she can see ghosts and she can discern with them, but she's not going to see something vivid like a woman coming up to her going, "Look what you made me do."
Oh yeah.
He's like that was more of the Hollywood franchise. Like he's like it was intense, but it was not that intense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's we're definitely going to be doing another episode. I'll tell you that.
Yes. Oh, we are. We definitely have a lot to explain. And definitely I'd love to hear more of your experiences. Because hey, I'm like I'm happy that there's an actual believer and that loves films just as much as I do. And
Oh yeah.
hey, I mean, you don't think I'm crazy, so that's cool because you've been through certain experiences.
Oh yeah. Trust me, I get the crazy. I get people calling me crazy too. Uh, but I will say that this has been a very good episode. An episode that I wasn't really expecting to be based on actual events, but I like that. So that gives emphasis on the ghost movies, which is good. So
Oh, for sure.
oh yeah. But I want to thank you, Charli, for coming on. And like I said, we will definitely be doing another episode because in the very near future, if
Yes.
schedules allow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this has been Movie Recap with Josh. Everybody, until next time, stay spooky.
Yes.